Yo, what's up guys? Corey Sandman Sandhagen here. Welcome to the channel where we talk about everything to do with martial arts. We don't really talk drama here. I try to make you guys better at fighting, make you guys better at living, or at least maybe a little bit easier at living. I'm not trying to be your guru. Don't put that responsibility on me. But today, just because there is this big topic in the sport right now, more so in the jiu-jitsu world, about how to actually get better. And I think that it's actually really cool that it's finally being addressed. One of the biggest things that I've noticed in martial arts, just in general and in the way that I've learned in the past, and the good coaches versus the not so good coaches that I've had in the past, is some of them teach techniques and moves and some of them teach concepts. Both of them are incredibly important. Let's get into how to address both of these things, get better at fighting, get better at jiu-jitsu, get better at Muay Thai, whatever it is that you're trying to get good at in martial arts. Let's talk about how to actually get good at these things. Alright, so step one, guys. First, you have to know how to do the actual technique or the move or the movement, whatever it is that you want to call it. So, for example, if I want to get good at having a back round kick or my right round kick, I don't just take this thing into sparring and just start firing off kicks when I'm maybe not doing the movement correctly, okay? So step one to learning anything is you have to learn how to do the movement. I know that this is a big topic in jiu-jitsu because you'll get these really good coaches being like, I don't have my guys rep moves. I don't have my guys do certain drills that are just repetition after repetition after repetition. I would argue that I would disagree with them. I would argue that if they went all the way back to their first day in jiu-jitsu class or their first day in Muay Thai class, they didn't just do things correctly just because they're some phenomenal athlete. I've worked with a lot of really, really good athletes, a lot of athletes that are in other professional sports. And I've found that you need to teach them how to do things. They need to practice repetitions. And of course, the more athletic you are, the more experienced you are with, spending some time in your body and doing athletic movements, it will come more natural to you. But step one, I believe, is repetition. You have to know how to do it over and over and over again. Do it correctly. If you're practicing your right round kick, how to turn your heel over, where to put your hands depending on how you decide to throw it, and then how to actually get some power so that you know how to do the actual movement or the technique of it. That's step one. Step two, you have to drill it, okay? And I only drill at about 30% speed or power when I'm learning a new move. So for example, if I'm trying to practice, let's say, getting in on the leg on a single leg X when someone's standing over me in jiu-jitsu, okay? I'm not just going to, again, take that into my live training immediately. I'm going to lose every single time at it if the person's any good, okay? I want to practice the repetition like we already talked about, but then I want to get into just drilling it at about 30% speed with someone that is giving me a little bit of resistance, but not crazy resistance, so that I can learn 80% of the time or so. They're still going to be a little bit of a pain in the ass, but they're not going to shut me down completely. So if I'm practicing, like a certain combination, which we'll get into later, don't practice combinations, but say I'm practicing my 1-2, okay? I want to be able to do that in a slow setting so that I can kind of make notes on where it is that it's going wrong so that I can start to correct those things in a situation where, one, I'm not going to get hurt, two, I don't care about being competitive, and then three, it's slow enough to where I can actually nail down where it is that I'm going wrong if it isn't working, okay? So step two is 30% drilling. You're going to be way more efficient in learning and getting good at things if you work with one or two drilling partners that is consistent. I work with a guy named Elias on the other end of the camera every single day for about 45 minutes, and we just drill over and over and over again at around 30% to 60% speed. But we start at 30% speed so that we can get familiar with the movement in a semi-live context, understand where we're doing it wrong, understand what spots we can and can't do it in, and it's kind of the beginning of getting familiar with the move. That's step two. Step three, we're going to get into doing it in a semi-live / live situation, okay? I myself, just because, I've been doing this for almost 15 years now, I've been doing this for a little bit, so I can kind of do it in a live situation against people that aren't as good, okay? I would never try something that's brand new with someone that I'm actually trying to compete against, okay? I will do it against guys that are really good, but like I said, I don't care if I fail over and over and over again. So I won't do it in like a competitive sense, but I can do it against pretty decent guys. For most of you guys, I would argue that you have to bump that 30% up to about 70%, okay? So you're not like blasting each other when you're sparring, but you're actually giving each other really realistic reactions to what it is that you guys are doing, okay? I would also say that you can do this if you are a little bit one of the guys that's better in the gym. You could do it against people that maybe aren't that good. If you're a purple belt trying to learn, a berimbolo, practice it on, the lower level blue belts. If you're a brown belt, practice it on the lower level purple belts. Just practice these moves in a way where it's a little bit more controlled. It's not full-blown competition speed or anything like that. But what you're going to find in this phase of learning, which is phase 3, the 50 to 70% drilling or semi-live, taking it into live situation, is you're going to figure out where this thing is broken, okay? In the first step with the repetition, you don't figure anything out where it's broken. 30%, you're just getting familiar with the move, where it fits in. You kind of let your imagination and your creativity try to think about where this move can take you. And then step 3, you're just trying to get good at figuring out where this thing is broken. I always make the analogy, if arm bars worked dead stop 100% of the time, you would never learn anything else. But that's not how martial arts works, okay? If I'm One Punch Man and I have like a cannon of a right hand, I don't need to learn anything else. But none of us are that, okay? So you have to learn and build up on these, moves or techniques that it is that you're learning. And in step 3, that's where you find out where this thing is broken. So, for example, if I'm trying to get good at wrestling, which I have been trying to get a lot better at wrestling over the last 3 years, I ran this same thing, rep the move over and over and over again, rep my double leg, rep my single legs over and over and over again. Do it in a 30% setting where the person's being a semi pain in the ass, but not too big of a pain in the ass. Step 3, do it in semi-live or against people that aren't as good. Figure out where it is that I can do it, where it is that I can't do it, and then figure out where that end point is and where it starts to break so that I can take it back into the 30% phase of learning. So the next phase of learning is after you figure out where it's broken, like I just said, you take it back to this 30% speed, okay? You take it to where, okay, this double leg isn't working in this situation. Or when I get connected to their hips and I start to drive, they give me this response. Then you drill that very specific subcategory of where it's going wrong, and you drill that area at about 30%, if that makes any sense. This might be some high-level shit for some of you guys, but that's okay. Some of you guys need to be told this because I don't know where else you would really get it from unless you have really awesome coaches, which I hope that you do. But after you do that semi-live phase, and then you take it back to the 30% phase again. You're, again, trying to get re-familiar. You figured out where it's broken. You try to figure out if you can fix it in those spots or if it's just that move doesn't work in that one scenario. If I'm practicing arm bars from my back, someone mounts me, you're not going to be able to arm bar the guy anymore. Okay, really exaggerated example, but you guys get the point. You take it back to the 30% phase. After you've figured out where it's broken, you try to fix that, get a little bit more technical in the way that you're doing it, and then you take it back to the 50, 60, 70% phase again, see if it's fixed, and this is usually the longest period of time that you're going to spend learning the move, is jumping between this 70% speed back to the 30%. 70 where you're figuring out where you suck and where you're broken at, taking it back to 30, repping it, making sure that you're able to do it in that very small context window of that 30%. Take it back to 70, do it again, 30 again, back and forth, until the last step where you've actually learned it. And when you've actually learned it, you're actually not done yet either. So what you have to do now that you know the move, you know the ins and outs, you know where it's broken, you know how to use it, how to not use it, when to bail, when not to bail. Now you need to add that move into your actual overarching game. Because really all that you've done is you've created this really awesome puzzle piece that now you just need to put into the bigger picture of the puzzle, okay? And that's when mastery starts to happen. And once you've filled out enough of these holes in your game by learning all of the moves, you fill those holes in with the moves that you've learned and become a more 360-degree better martial artist. And that's, of course, the goal of everything. This takes years and years and years. I'm maybe, 20% down the line of I feel like knowing everything that I actually want to know about the sport, because when I learn something, I try to really, really dig deep into the actual learning piece. Some of these things are just things that have helped me major big time. I know that there's a lot of, arguments about whether to rep moves, whether to just do concepts. The answer is that you do them both. You have to work them both. Know the movement. If you're newer, you're going to probably spend a lot of time doing that. Then you can get into the concepts. Start with the reps, move it into the 30%, take it into semi-live, take it into your actual game, and then incorporate it into you as a fighter, how you want to express yourself, and making yourself a badass fighter. Make sure that you guys like and subscribe. Peace, love you. Comment, let me know what more you guys want to see.